Doyen Kang stared out the window of the Unity as the massive alien planet filled his view. His hands were shaking. He tried to stop them, but they wouldn't listen. This was his first real mission as a cultural attaché, and already he felt like he was drowning. "You'll be fine," Yuri said beside him. She was the ship's xenobiologist and his best friend since university. "Just remember what we studied. Bow when they bow. Don't touch anyone unless they touch you first. And whatever you do, don't refuse food or drink." Doyen nodded. He had read every file about the Thexians 3 times. They were warriors. Their empire stretched across 40 star systems. They looked like walking dragons with scales that shimmered purple and black, and humanity needed them as allies. Captain Hana Im walked onto the bridge. She was tall and confident. Everything Doyun wished he could be. "Landing in 20 minutes, she announced. "Remember, this is Earth's first formal contact with the Thexian Empire. We need to make a good impression." The weight of those words settled on Doyun's shoulders like a physical thing. He was 28 years old. 6 months ago, he had been teaching alien languages at a small university. Now he was part of humanity's first diplomatic mission to one of the galaxy's great powers. How had his life gotten so strange? The Unity landed on a platform made of black stone. Through the windows, Doyun could see Thexian guards in armor that looked like it was carved from obsidian. They were huge, easily 8 feet tall, with muscles that rippled under their scales. Each one carried weapons that could probably vaporize him with a single shot. "Ready?" Captain Hana asked. Doyen wasn't ready. He would never be ready. But he followed her down the ramp anyway. The Thexian palace was beyond anything Doyen had imagined. Massive pillars reached toward a ceiling he couldn't even see. Fires burned in great braziers, casting dancing shadows everywhere. The air smelled like smoke and something spicy he couldn't identify. A Thexian official guided them through corridors filled with art and weapons. Doyen tried to look calm, but his heart was hammering. Finally, they reached a set of enormous doors that swung open silently. The throne room was packed with Thexians, hundreds of them, all watching as the human delegation entered. At the far end, on a throne that looked like it was made from a single piece of volcanic rock, sat Queen Velrisa. She was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Her scales were deeper purple than the others, with patterns of gold that caught the firelight. Her eyes were amber and sharp, missing nothing. When she stood, Doyen realized she was even taller than her guards, easily 9 feet of pure muscle and power. "Welcome, humans of Earth," her voice boomed across the hall. "We have heard much about your kind. Come, sit, share our feast." Captain Hana led them to seats near the throne. Doyen found himself closer to the queen than he had expected. He could smell her now, like heated stone and cinnamon. She watched him with those amber eyes, and he felt like a mouse being studied by a hawk. The feast began. Servers brought plates of food that Doyen couldn't identify. Some of it moved. He ate carefully, trying not to embarrass himself or humanity. Around him, Thexians laughed and roared and slammed their fists on tables. It was overwhelming. Captain Hana was deep in conversation with a Thexian general. Yuri was taking samples of everything when she thought no one was looking. That left Doyen alone with his nervousness. "You are very quiet, small human," Queen Velrisa said suddenly. She was looking right at him. Doyen nearly choked on whatever he had been eating. "I apologize, Your Majesty. I am simply taking everything in." She studied him for a long moment. "You are the language scholar, yes? You speak our tongue well, better than your captain." "Thank you, Your Majesty. I find languages fascinating. Each one is a window into how a people think and see the universe." Something flickered in those amber eyes. Interest. Maybe. An interesting perspective. "Tell me, scholar, what does our language tell you about us?" Doyen knew he was being tested. He thought carefully before answering. Your language has 17 words for honor and only 3 for fear. You have specific terms for different types of worthy opponents. Your grammar makes it almost impossible to speak of yourself without also speaking of your duty. You are a people who value strength, but more than that, you value purpose. Queen Velrisa leaned back, and Doyun saw several nearby Thexians exchange glances. Had he said something wrong? Then she laughed. It was a rich, deep sound that made the fires flicker. I like this one, she announced to the room. He sees clearly. She reached for something beside her throne. It was a cup, large and ornate, covered in carved symbols. She filled it from a crystal bottle and held it out to Doyun. Drink, scholar. You honor us with your understanding. Doyun remembered Yuri's words. Don't refuse food or drink. This was a test of some kind, or maybe a gesture of respect. Either way, refusing would be an insult. He stood and accepted the cup with both hands, as he had seen others do. The liquid inside was thick and smelled like oranges mixed with fire. Doyun raised it to his lips and drank. It burned going down, but he didn't stop until the cup was empty. He had to prove that humans could be strong too in their own way. He lowered the cup and looked up to thank the queen. The entire throne room was silent. Every single Thexian was staring at him with expressions ranging from shock to horror to something that might have been amusement. Captain Hana was on her feet, her face pale. Queen Velrisa was staring at him too. Then, slowly, her mouth opened, and she laughed. It started as a chuckle but grew into a full, booming laugh that shook the very walls. She threw her head back, her whole body shaking with mirth. You know that means marriage, right? She said between laughs. Doyen felt the blood drain from his face. What? By our oldest law, the queen said, still laughing. To drink from the monarch's personal vessel is to accept a bond of union. You have just agreed to become my consort. The cup fell from Doyun's numb fingers. It hit the floor with a clang that seemed impossibly loud in the silent aftermath of her words. Captain Hana was saying something urgent to a Thexian official. Yuri was staring at him with her mouth open. The entire Thexian court was whispering, a sound like wind through dead leaves. And Doyen just stood there, unable to move, unable to think, as the reality of what he had done crashed over him like a wave. He had just accidentally married the queen of the Thexian Empire. Earth's first diplomatic mission had lasted exactly 43 minutes before he had destroyed it completely. Queen Velrisa was still laughing. The medical bay of the Unity smelled like antiseptic and fear. Doyen sat on an examination table while Yuri checked his vitals for the 3rd time. His blood pressure was high, but considering he had accidentally agreed to marry an alien queen, he thought that was reasonable. Captain Hana paced back and forth, her boots clicking against the metal floor. She had been silent for the last 10 minutes, which somehow made everything worse. When she finally spoke, her voice was tight with controlled anger. How could you not know? She asked. The files didn't mention it, Doyen said quietly. His voice sounded hollow even to himself. I read everything we had about Thexian customs, everything. There was nothing about drinking from a personal cup meaning marriage. Yuri looked up from her tablet. That's because it's from their oldest traditions, before they even had spaceflight. Most modern Thexians probably don't even know about it anymore. She paused. Except apparently, their queen does. The communication panel beeped. Captain Hana answered it with a sharp gesture. Director Park's face appeared on the screen. He was the head of Earth's diplomatic corps, and he looked like he hadn't slept in days. Status report, he demanded. The Thexian government has confirmed the marriage contract is legally binding under their law, Captain Hana said. Breaking it would be considered a grave insult. Director Park closed his eyes. Define grave. The kind that starts wars, sir. For a long moment, no one spoke. Doyen felt sick. He had caused this. His mistake might lead to Earth's first interstellar war. The Galactic Council has been informed, Director Park said finally. They're concerned. The Thexians have one of the largest military forces in known space. If we insult them, other species might see it as weakness. Earth could become a target. Doyen's hands clenched into fists. What are my options? Director Park looked at him with something like pity. The Thexians have a process. 7 trials to prove compatibility. If you fail even one, you can withdraw honorably. No insult, no consequences. That doesn't sound so bad, Yuri said hopefully. Except, Captain Hana said, no non-Thexian has ever passed all 7 trials. Ever. They're designed for a species that's bigger, stronger, and more aggressive than humans. Doyen felt a small spark of something in his chest. Not hope exactly, but maybe defiance. So I just need to fail one trial? That's the idea, Director Park said. Attempt them in good faith, fail respectfully, and we all move on. The Thexians get to see us as honorable for trying, and you get to come home. Before Doyen could respond, the ship's AI announced an incoming shuttle. Captain Hana's face went pale. She's here. 10 minutes later, Queen Velrisa ducked through the Unity's airlock. The ship suddenly felt much smaller. She had to bend to fit through the corridors, and her guards filled the space behind her like a wall of armored muscle. She found Doyen in the observation lounge. He stood when she entered, his heart pounding. Leave us, she told her guards. They hesitated, but obeyed. When they were alone, she sat in a chair that creaked under her weight. Sit, Doyen Kang. You look like you will faint. He sat. Up close, he could see that her scales had tiny patterns in them, like fingerprints. Her amber eyes studied him with an intelligence that reminded him she hadn't become queen through strength alone. You did not know, she said. It wasn't a question. No, Your Majesty. I thought perhaps you were bold, making a statement. She smiled, showing teeth that could tear through metal. But no. You are simply unlucky. Very unlucky, Doyen agreed. She laughed at that, a smaller sound than her throne room laugh, but no less genuine. I like your honesty. Most beings who speak to me say only what they think I want to hear. She leaned back. I will be honest in return. This amuses me. Amuses you? Yes. I have been queen for 20 cycles. In that time, I have rejected 17 marriage proposals from Thexian nobles. All of them wanted my throne more than they wanted me. But you? You drank from my cup not knowing what it meant. There is something pure in that. Stupid, but pure. Doyen didn't know whether to be insulted or relieved. Your Majesty, I don't want to cause a war between our peoples. Nor do I. She stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. By law, I must offer you the 7 trials. If you decline, it is an insult. If you attempt them and fail, you may leave with honor. Do you understand? I understand. Good. But know this, Doyen Kang. She turned to face him. In 300 years, only 24 beings have attempted the trials. All were Thexian. All were warriors bred for combat. And even among them, only half succeeded. She paused. You are small. Weak by our standards. The trials will break you. The spark in Doyen's chest grew brighter. Maybe, but I have to try. Why? She seemed genuinely curious. You could simply refuse and face the political consequences. Your species is new to the galaxy. Most would understand. Doyen thought about Earth, about the millions of people who had no idea that their diplomatic future rested on his shoulders. About Captain Hana and Yuri and everyone who was depending on him. Because it's my fault, he said. I made the mistake. I should be the one to fix it. And because Because humans don't give up just because something is hard. Queen Velrisa studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. Very well. The trials will begin in 7 days. I will have my people send you the details. She moved toward the door, then paused. Doyun Kang? Yes, Your Majesty. I truly hope you surprise me. The galaxy could use more surprises. After she left, Captain Hana found him still standing in the observation lounge. You're really going to do this? I don't have a choice. There's always a choice. She stood beside him, looking out at the stars. You could refuse. Take the political hit. Let the diplomats figure it out. Could you do that? Doyen asked. If you were in my position? Captain Hana was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled grimly. No, I suppose I couldn't. She put a hand on his shoulder. Then let's make sure you're ready. We have 7 days to prepare you for the impossible. Yuri appeared in the doorway carrying a stack of tablets. I've been analyzing Thexian physiology and culture for the last 2 hours. I have some ideas. Ideas? Doyen asked. About how to survive the trials. She grinned. The Thexians are stronger and faster than us, but we're human. We're the species that hunted mammoths with sticks and conquered our planet's oceans in wooden boats. We don't win by being the strongest. We win by being the most stubborn. Captain Hana nodded. She's right. Every species in the galaxy looks at humans and sees us as weak, small, fragile. Let them keep thinking that. Then show them what we're really made of. Doyen looked at his friends, at the determination in their eyes. The spark in his chest burst into a flame. Okay, he said. Let's do this. Let's show the galaxy what humans can do. Outside the window, the Thexian homeworld turned slowly in space, waiting. The trials would be brutal. The odds were impossible. But for the first time since drinking from that cursed cup, Doyen felt something other than fear. He felt ready. The volcanic highlands of the Thexian homeworld were beautiful and deadly. Black rock stretched in every direction, broken by rivers of molten stone that glowed orange in the dim light. Steam vents hissed and spat. The air was hot enough that Doyun's cooling suit was working at full capacity just to keep him alive. Somewhere out there was a razor-spine predator. Doyun had to track it and capture it alive. That was the first trial. He had been walking for 6 hours. His legs ached. His water was half gone. But he had found the tracks finally, pressed into ash near a cooling lava flow. The creature was big, maybe the size of an earth bear, with claws that left gouges in solid rock. This is insane, he muttered to himself. The camera drone following him would broadcast that to millions of viewers across the galaxy, but he didn't care anymore. Yuri's voice crackled in his earpiece. She was watching from orbit. Doyen, your heart rate is too high. You need to slow down. Can't. Need to find it before dark. The Thexian day was 30 hours long, but night in the highlands meant temperatures that could kill even in his suit. He followed the tracks through a field of obsidian shards. Each step had to be careful. One slip could tear his suit and end everything. The predator's trail led to a cave entrance, dark and forbidding. Doyun stopped. Going into a cave after a creature that could tear him apart was suicide. Every instinct screamed at him to turn back. But he thought of Queen Velrisa watching, of Earth watching, of everyone who said humans were too weak to matter in the galaxy. He went into the cave. The razor spine was sleeping in a chamber filled with bones. Doyen saw its scaled hide rise and fall with each breath. Its spines were as long as his forearm and looked sharp enough to cut steel. He couldn't fight it. He couldn't outrun it. But he didn't need to do either. Doyen had studied persistence hunting, an ancient human technique. Before weapons, humans had chased prey until the animals collapsed from exhaustion. Humans could regulate their temperature through sweating. Most animals couldn't. They overheated and died. The razor spine was reptilian. It needed to rest to cool down. But Doyen could keep moving. He threw a rock. It clattered against the cave wall. The predator's eyes snapped open, glowing yellow in the darkness. It saw Doyen and roared, a sound that made his bones shake. Then Doyen ran. He burst from the cave with the creature right behind him. Its claws scraped against rock. Its breath was hot on his back. But Doyen didn't stop. He ran across the highlands, jumping over lava flows, sliding down ash slopes. The razor spine was faster in short bursts, but Doyen kept a steady pace. Every time it got close, he would dodge or change direction, making it work harder. Hours passed. The sun moved across the sky. Doyen's legs were screaming. His lungs burned, but he could hear the creature's breathing getting heavier. It was slowing down. More hours. Doyen fell twice, scrambled up, kept running. The razor spine was struggling now, its movements less coordinated. By the time the sun was setting, the predator could barely walk. It collapsed beside a steam vent, panting, its body overheated and exhausted. Doyen approached carefully with the capture net the Thexians had provided. The creature was too tired to resist. He secured it and activated the beacon. When the Thexian retrieval team arrived, they found Doyen sitting next to his captured predator, both of them completely exhausted. The team leader, a scarred warrior named Tavik, stared at him. You ran it to death?" "Not death," Doyen panted. "Just exhaustion. That's what humans do. We don't give up." The second trial was a war game against General Corvus, the Queen's best strategic mind. Doyen sat across from him at a holographic table showing a simulated battlefield. He had 5,000 troops. The general had 5,000 troops. First to capture the enemy fortress won. General Corvus opened with a direct assault, his forces moving in perfect formation. Doyen's defense crumbled in minutes. The general won in less than an hour. "Again," Doyen said. They played again. Corvus changed his strategy, using a flanking maneuver. Doyen lost again. Again. By the 10th game, Doyen had learned the general's patterns. He started using tactics from Earth's military history. Guerrilla warfare, false retreats, ambushes, psychological tricks. The general won the 11th game, but it took him 4 hours and cost him 60% of his forces. The 12th game lasted 6 hours. Doyen lost, but the general's victory was hollow. His army was destroyed, his resources depleted. "Enough," General Corvus said finally. He looked frustrated and impressed at the same time. "You fight without honor." "I fight to win," Doyen replied. "When you're weaker than your enemy, you can't afford honor. You use everything you have." The general was silent for a long moment. Then he stood and bowed. "I offer surrender." "But you won every game," Doyen said, confused. "Yes. But if this were real, my people would be dead, my resources gone, and you would still be here, ready to fight another day." "That is a kind of victory I cannot defeat." He smiled grimly. "Trial passed, human. You are more dangerous than you look." The third trial was in the forges. Doyen had to create a weapon with his own hands. Around him, Thexian candidates hammered massive blades and axes, their strength shaping metal like clay. Doyen couldn't match their strength, but he had studied engineering at university. He spent 2 days crafting a compound bow with precision mechanics, using his knowledge of physics and materials. When testing day came, the Thexian weapons could crush armor and cut through shields. Impressive. Doyen's bow could put an arrow through a target from 300 meters away, farther than any Thexian weapon could reach. Queen Velrisa held the bow, testing its pull. "Clever. You cannot match our strength, so you make strength unnecessary." She looked at him with those amber eyes. "You think in ways we do not. Interesting." The fourth trial was survival. 7 days in the death wastes without supplies. Doyen emerged after a week, thinner, but alive. He had found water in plant roots and eaten things the Thexians considered poisonous, but humans could digest. His smaller body needed less. His adaptability saved him. The fifth trial was mental. Thexian psychic technology made Doyen face his fears. He saw himself failing Earth, saw his friends dying because of his mistakes, saw himself as the worthless failure he had always secretly believed he was. But in the depths of that fear, he found something else, a core of stubbornness that refused to break, a determination to protect others no matter the cost. When he emerged from the chamber, he was changed, stronger inside. The sixth trial was combat. Doyen and Queen Velrisa fought together against multiple opponents in an arena. She expected to carry the fight. Instead, Doyen watched her back. He coordinated with her. He used tactics that complemented her strength rather than copying it. He made her stronger by being different, not the same. They won decisively, and when it was over, Velrisa looked at him with something new in her eyes: respect. "You fight well," she said. "We fight well," Doyen corrected. "Together." The seventh trial was revealed in the chamber of the High Council. Ancient Thexian elders sat in judgment. The eldest spoke in a voice like grinding stone. "The seventh trial is the choice. Most who attempt the trials do so from ambition or obligation. But you, Doyen Kang, chose freely. You chose to face impossible odds for the sake of peace. That is the truest mark of a worthy consort." Doyen stood there, covered in bruises and scars from the trials, hardly believing what he was hearing. "You have passed," the elder said, "all 7 trials, the first non-Thexian to ever do so." The chamber erupted, not in anger, but in celebration. Thexians roared and beat their fists against their chests. And in the back, Queen Velrisa was smiling. Across the galaxy, billions watched in shock. The weak human had done the impossible. Doyen had proven that humans belonged among the stars. The palace gardens were peaceful in the evening light. Doyen walked beside Queen Velrisa, along paths lined with strange alien flowers that glowed softly in the growing darkness. His body still ached from the trials, but the pain was fading. 2 weeks had passed since his victory. 2 weeks of living in the palace, learning Thexian customs, trying to understand what came next. The marriage was real now. No way to back out. No diplomatic escape. He had won, and that meant everything had changed. "You are quiet tonight," Velrisa said. She had stopped using his full name after the 4th trial. Now it was just Doyen, said in her deep voice that made his name sound like a rumble of thunder. "Just thinking," he replied. About how strange life is. A month ago, I was teaching languages to bored students. Now I'm engaged to the queen of an interstellar empire." He laughed quietly. "It doesn't feel real." Velrisa was silent for a moment. Then she sat on a bench carved from a single piece of purple crystal. "Come, sit with me." Doyen sat, very aware of how small he was next to her. She could break him with one hand if she wanted. But she had been nothing but careful with him since the trials ended. "I will confess something," she said. "I did not expect to like you." "That's fair. I accidentally forced you into a marriage." "Yes. I was angry at first. But then I watched you in the trials." She looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. "I have seen many warriors, Doyen. Strong fighters, brave soldiers. But I have never seen someone fight like you did. Not for glory or power, but for peace. For your people." "I had to try," Doyen said simply. "That is what makes you different." She turned those amber eyes on him. "Most beings who attempt the trials want to prove they are strong. You wanted to prove you were worthy. Those are not the same thing." Doyen felt his face grow warm. "I'm still not sure I am worthy. Worthy of this. Of you." Velrisa's laugh was softer than her usual booming sound. I am a warrior queen who has conquered 17 systems and crushed 2 rebellions before breakfast. And you, a scholar half my size, managed to pass trials that broke trained warriors. I think perhaps we are both worthy of each other. Before Doyun could respond, a Thexian guard approached quickly. Your Majesty, there is urgent news. The High Council requires your presence. Velrisa stood immediately, her relaxed manner vanishing. What has happened? An attempt on your life, Your Majesty. The servants found poison in your dinner. Doyun felt ice run through his veins. Velrisa's face darkened with rage. Who? We do not know yet. But the Council fears there may be more danger tonight. The state dinner was supposed to be a celebration. Foreign ambassadors from a dozen species had gathered to formally recognize Doyun and Velrisa's upcoming marriage. The Great Hall was filled with dignitaries, all dressed in their finest, but Doyun could feel the tension in the air. Velrisa's guards were everywhere watching. The queen herself sat at the high table, her face a mask of calm, but Doyun could see the anger in her eyes. He sat beside her, feeling useless. What could he do here? He wasn't a warrior. He wasn't a guard. He was just a teacher who had gotten lucky. The dinner began. Speeches were made. Toasts were offered. But Doyun noticed that Velrisa barely touched her food. She was watching everything, suspicious. Then he saw her hand move to her throat. Her scales, usually vibrant purple, were turning gray. Velrisa, he whispered. Poison, she gasped. In the wine! Chaos erupted. Guards rushed forward, but from the shadows came figures in black armor. Assassins, members of the Crimson Claw, a faction of Thexian nobles who opposed the marriage to a human. They moved fast, weapons drawn, heading straight for Doyun. With the queen poisoned and weakening, he was an easy target. Kill him, and the marriage would end. The Crimson Claw could then seize power during the chaos. The lead assassin reached Doyun first. He was huge, even for a Thexian, with scars covering his scales. His blade was raised to strike. Doyun grabbed a serving platter and threw it, not at the assassin, but at his feet. The heavy metal crashed down, making the warrior stumble. Doyun rolled aside as the blade crashed into his chair, splitting it in half. Another assassin came from the left. Doyun grabbed a wine bottle and smashed it against the table edge, creating a jagged weapon. It wouldn't kill a Thexian, but it might slow one down. He slashed at the assassin's eyes, forcing him back. The trials had taught him one thing. He didn't need to be strong. He needed to be smart. Doyun jumped onto the table, running across it and kicking platters and bowls into the assassin's paths. He grabbed a decorative spear from the wall and used it as a pole vault to swing over the third attacker, landing behind him. A quick strike to the back of the knee made the warrior fall. But there were 6 of them, and only one of him. He positioned himself in front of Velrisa's slumped form. She was breathing, but barely conscious. The poison was working fast. Come on, then, Doyun said, breathing hard. He held the spear in a guard position he had learned during the 6th trial. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. You want her? You go through me. The lead assassin laughed. A human? Defending our queen? Pathetic. Maybe, Doyun agreed. But I'm the human who passed the 7 trials. And I'm the human who's not moving. They came at him together. Doyun fought like his life depended on it because it did. He used every dirty trick he knew. He threw furniture. He used the environment, making them stumble over debris. He targeted joints and eyes, places even Thexian armor didn't cover well. Minutes felt like hours. Doyun was bleeding from a dozen cuts. His right arm was screaming in pain from a blow he had barely blocked. But he held his ground. The assassins were growing frustrated. This was supposed to be easy, but the small human wouldn't go down. Every time they thought they had him, he would slip away or counterattack in some unexpected way. Then Captain Hana burst through the doors with Unity security forces. "Get down!" she shouted. Doyen dropped as stun weapons fired. The assassins, already tired from fighting him, went down under the barrage. Captain Hana rushed to Doyen. "You're bleeding everywhere!" "Help Velrisa," he gasped. "She's been poisoned." Yuri was already there with medical supplies. She injected something into Velrisa's neck, and within seconds, the Queen's color began to return. Her eyes opened, focusing on Doyen. You fought for me," she said, her voice weak but amazed. "Of course I did," Doyen said, collapsing beside her. "You're my future wife, and more than that, you're my friend." The medical team arrived to take them both to the infirmary. As they were being carried out, Doyen heard the whispers from the crowd. The ambassadors had watched everything. They had seen a small human stand against 6 Thexian warriors to protect their queen. The story would spread across the galaxy. Humanity's reputation was changing. Not because they were strong, but because they were loyal. Because they didn't abandon their people. Because when it mattered most, they stood and fought no matter the odds. In the infirmary, as doctors treated his wounds, Velrisa lay in the bed next to him. She reached out with one massive hand and gently touched his smaller one. "Thank you," she said simply. Doyen smiled through the pain. "Anytime." That's what partners do. And for the first time, the word partners felt right. Not forced, not political, real. Something had changed between them tonight. The marriage had started as an accident. But now, looking at Velrisa's grateful eyes, Doyen realized it was becoming something more. Something true. The investigation took 3 days. Doyen watched from his recovery bed as Velrisa interrogated the captured assassins. She was terrifying when angry, her voice shaking the very walls of the interrogation chamber, but she was also brilliant. She used techniques Doyen had shown her during their time together. Human psychology tricks, ways to spot lies that Thexian honor culture had never developed. Together, they identified the conspiracy's leaders, 12 noble houses who had plotted to end the marriage and seize power. The punishment was swift and absolute. The traitor nobles were stripped of their titles and exiled. Their holdings were given to families who had remained loyal. Within a week, the Crimson Claw conspiracy was crushed. But the attempt on their lives had changed something. Velrisa was quieter now, more thoughtful. Doyen caught her watching him sometimes, her amber eyes thoughtful. One evening, she called him to her private chambers. It was the first time he had been there. The room was surprisingly simple for a queen, decorated with weapons and battle trophies rather than luxury. "Sit," she said, gesturing to a chair that was actually human-sized. She had ordered it made specially for him. Doyen sat. "Is something wrong?" Velrisa poured 2 drinks, the same orange liquid he had accidentally consumed that first night. She handed him one cup and kept the other. "Do you know what this is called?" "No." "I never asked." "Flame wine. It is made from the sap of fire trees that grow near volcanoes. Very rare. Very precious." She swirled the liquid in her cup. "We only share it with those we trust completely." "I'm honored," Doyen said carefully. "When you drank from my cup that first night, I thought it was amusing. A mistake that would be resolved." She looked at him directly. "But you have proven to be no mistake, Doyen Kong. You have proven to be extraordinary." Doyen felt his face grow warm. "I just did what I had to do." "No, you did far more." She set down her cup and moved closer, kneeling so they were at eye level. "I have been queen for 20 cycles. I have had power, respect, fear. But I have never had a true partner." Someone who sees me not as a title to claim, but as a person to stand beside. Velrisa, let me finish. Her voice was gentle now, vulnerable in a way he had never heard. The marriage began as law, as obligation. But when I saw you stand against 6 assassins to protect me, knowing you would likely die, I understood something. You did not do that for Earth. You did that for me. Doyen nodded slowly. Yes, I did. Why? He thought about lying, about giving a diplomatic answer. But Velrisa deserved better. Because somewhere between the trials and the dinners and the conversations in the garden, I started to care about you. Not as a queen, as Velrisa. And I couldn't let anyone hurt you. For a long moment she was silent. Then she laughed, that beautiful, booming laugh he had come to love. You foolish, brave little human. Do you have any idea what you are saying? That I want this marriage to be real, Doyen said, his heart pounding. That I want to be your partner, not just your political consort. Velrisa's smile was radiant. Yes, that is exactly what I wanted to hear. Because I feel the same way. She reached out, and Doyen took her massive hand in both of his smaller ones. They sat together in the quiet of her chambers. 2 beings from different worlds who had found something neither expected. Love. The wedding was planned for the next month, but this time it would be different. Not a political ceremony forced by ancient law, but a true union of 2 people who had chosen each other. The venue was the Galactic Council Station, neutral ground where all species could attend. Thousands wanted to come. The story of the human who passed the 7 trials and defended his queen had spread across known space. Everyone wanted to see what would happen next. Doyen stood in his preparation room, wearing robes that blended Earth and Thexian traditions. Silk from Earth, dyed in Thexian royal purple. Captain Hana helped him adjust the collar. Nervous? She asked. Terrified, Doyen admitted. Good, that means it matters. She smiled. I'm proud of you, you know. When we left Earth, you were just a shy teacher who couldn't look people in the eye. Now look at you, marrying a queen, changing galactic politics, making humanity matter. I just tried not to die, Doyen said. That's the human way, isn't it? We just keep trying, keep surviving until suddenly we've done something impossible. She straightened his collar one last time. Ready? No. But let's go anyway. The ceremony chamber was massive, filled with representatives from hundreds of species. Doyen saw beings made of crystal, floating clouds of gas, creatures with 6 legs, and beings that existed partially in other dimensions. All here to witness this moment. At the altar stood Velrisa. She wore armor polished to a mirror shine, decorated with gold and gems. She looked like a goddess from ancient myths. When she saw Doyen, her face lit up with joy. Yuri walked beside him as his honor guard, tears already streaming down her face. Don't trip, she whispered. Everyone in the galaxy is watching. Not helping, Doyen whispered back. They reached the altar. Velrisa took his hands in hers, gentle despite her strength. The galactic arbiter began the ceremony, speaking in the common tongue so all could understand. We gather to witness the union of Queen Velrisa of the Thexian Empire and Doyen Kang of Earth. 2 beings from different worlds, different species, brought together by fate and choice. The ceremony blended traditions. Velrisa spoke the Thexian vows of partnership, promising to fight beside him, protect him, and honor him. Doyen spoke Earth's vows, promising to love her, cherish her, and stand with her in all things. Then came the exchange of bonding marks. In Thexian tradition, partners marked each other as a sign of belonging. Velrisa had a special armband made for Doyen, sized to his human arm, carved with both their names in both languages. Doyen had commissioned a necklace for her, a pendant that held a crystal from Earth and a stone from the Thexian homeworld, merged together. With this, I claim you as mine, Velrisa said, her voice carrying across the chamber. With this, I choose you as my partner, Doyen replied. The Arbiter raised his hands. Then by the authority of the Galactic Council, I recognize this union. May it bring prosperity to both your peoples. The chamber erupted in celebration. Species with very different biologies all found ways to express joy. The human delegation cheered. The Thexian warriors roared and beat their weapons against their shields. Even the normally reserved crystalline concordat chimed in harmonic celebration. Velrisa pulled Doyen close and kissed him, gentle despite the difference in their sizes. The gesture had to be carefully practiced, but it was perfect. When they parted, both were smiling. "Hello, husband," Velrisa said. "Hello." "Wife," Doyen replied. The celebration lasted for hours. Doyen and Velrisa moved through the crowd, greeting dignitaries and friends. Director Park from Earth's Diplomatic Corps approached, looking emotional. "You did it," he said to Doyen. "You turned a potential disaster into humanity's greatest diplomatic achievement. The Council is already talking about closer ties with Earth." "I just married someone I love," Doyen said. "The politics were just a bonus." Later, as the party continued, Doyen and Velrisa slipped away to a private observation deck. Through the massive windows, they could see Earth on one side and the Thexian homeworld on the other, two planets that were now connected by more than just politics. "What do you think comes next?" Doyen asked. "Many things," Velrisa said. "Cultural exchanges, trade agreements. My people learning from yours, your people learning from mine." She pulled him close. "But for tonight, I just want to enjoy being married to the most stubborn human in the galaxy." "Most stubborn?" Doyen laughed. "Is that really what you find attractive about me?" "Among other things." She smiled. "You are brave. You are clever. You see solutions where others see only problems. And you make me laugh." Her expression grew serious. "You make me better, Doyen. That is the greatest gift anyone has ever given me." "You make me braver than I ever thought I could be," Doyen said. "You make me want to be worthy of you." "You already are," Velrisa said softly. They stood together, watching the stars. Two beings who had started as strangers from different worlds and become something neither expected. Partners, lovers, friends. In the years that followed, their union would change the galaxy. Human-Thexian cultural exchange programs would open new doors for both species. Children would be born, hybrid offspring that embodied the best of both peoples. Doyen would become a respected voice in galactic politics, known for his wisdom and diplomatic skill. But in that moment, on their wedding night, they were simply two people who had found each other against impossible odds. The galaxy had learned an important lesson from their story. Strength came in many forms. Power wasn't just about weapons or muscles. Sometimes the strongest thing you could do was choose love over fear, partnership over dominance, and hope over despair. Humanity had proven they belonged among the stars, not because they were the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced, but because they had something unique. The stubborn, incredible ability to find a way forward no matter what. And sometimes that way forward started with accidentally drinking from a queen's cup. "You know," Doyen said, breaking the comfortable silence, "you never did tell me if you knew I didn't understand the cup tradition." Velrisa's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Didn't I?" "Velrisa, did you know?" Her laugh echoed across the observation deck, full of joy and love and the promise of many more years of laughter to come. "Does it matter?" she asked. "We are here now. That is what counts." And Doyen, looking at his wife, his partner, his love, could only agree. The best accidents, he thought, were the ones that changed your life forever.